It's going to be pretty action-packed. I'm going to try and pack a lot of knowledge and value into this session. So I wanted to just give you a little understanding of my background. Those of you who don't know me, I'm a best-selling author. I got to co-author a book with Brian Tracy, who some of you may have heard of. He's a sales and business guru, basically one of the old school legends. I was fortunate enough to do a chapter and get it in his book called Counterattack. And it hit the Amazon bestseller list. So it was quite an honor and really, really actually catapulted my career to another level. I'm also a sales strategist, which is why I'm here. And it started in insurance. And you're going to hear, well, it started way before insurance, but my sales consulting and training really exploded in the insurance realm. And I'm going to get to explaining that in a moment. I'm also a keynote speaker. I was actually the featured sales trainer on the Norvax/Go Health sales and marketing tour a few years ago. And I've also get hired to speak at agencies and also other outside of the insurance sales, other sales realms to fly out, speak, and do some training. It's really awesome. It's fun, and I get to impact people who may or may not have had any sales training. So it's very interesting in that we're going to get to some of those numbers as well as the ratios of how many people are in sales and actually have been trained to do sales. Lastly, several years ago, I decided to get my life coaching certification because I noticed a correlation between people struggling personally and that affecting their sales. So I figured if I could help them overcome those struggles, it would improve their life overall. It also dramatically improved my life, learning a lot of the things where we, are unable to overcome limitations and all the things that coincide. And basically, I always say life is sales because there's communication, developing trust, relationships, and anything you're trying to do. If you wanted to have an idea and get people to buy into your idea, you're ultimately selling. So there are a lot of factors that coincide with one another to make you successful. So some of my endorsements, or people who've hired me, I should say, include Fortune 500 companies, Estee Lauder, United Health One, Assurant, AT&T Mobility, Humana. And yes, those icons on the bottom of the screen say that I have been cited on those networks on the internet, quoted, either articles, things of that nature. There's more than that, but I didn't care to add them. And now, you will hear a lot of people say, we don't say these things to impress you. The thing is, we hope to imply that we may have some knowledge that we impart into you that will then improve your life or career. And that's the only reason anyone has to explain, in case you don't know who we are, any speakers that you attend, meetings, conferences, webinars, etc. So thank you for your patience on that. It's the part that almost nobody likes doing, babbling about themselves. So, just a housekeeping tip. I am flying solo today, so I cannot monitor the chat at the same time as I go. So I'm just going to go through this. And I would just ask that if you have a question that pops up, punch it into the chat. And at the end, I will do that or use that as a Q&A, a question and answer session. Read your chat questions and get to them. So I promise you I will. I just don't want to interrupt the flow because this is going in a particular order. And it's best that it goes without interruption. So thank you for that. So a little bit about me, kind of related to housekeeping. How I got into sales was I was a teenager and I was growing my hair, rock drummer, wanted to be a rock star. And of course, you needed to have a job to support that. So you're not the typical struggling musician. And my father, who was a top salesman selling Electrolux vacuums, door to door, knocking on doors, cold calling. He told me get into sales because you can make as much money as you want. So what kid wouldn't want to do that, or what person in general, you can make as much money as you want. So of course I took the opportunity. Plus my dad was a best friend of mine and a mentor. So it was really great to work with him. However, a couple of weeks go by and I'm not making the money I want. So I went and told my father this. And he asked me a question that changed my entire life and that I have carried with me through every opportunity I've ever had. He said, "Do you know what you're doing?" And the answer was no, because I wasn't attending the meetings at 7:30 in the morning, because I'm still not a morning person. I am a night owl, whether it's from being a musician or just we're born that way, I don't know. I might want to check into that, but I didn't like getting up early. And so I decided begrudgingly, all right, I'm going to start attending some of these meetings because I needed to earn an income. And miraculously, over several days of literally learning how to get into someone's home, handle objections, demo a vacuum, beat the competition if they had a different, vacuum company, I was able to start selling. Well, I'm going to put this out to you right now before we get into this whole thing. Do all of you know what you're doing? And I don't mean in any bad way other than I'm going to give you an example. I recently spoke at 2 events, one in Dallas and one in Orlando, for a company called ASI. They do promotional products. So if you needed to get a T-shirt with your company name on it, you would go to one of their representatives. And I polled the audiences, and there was probably a total of 5 people between both events. And I asked how long they had been selling. And I did under 1 year, 1 to 5 years, 5 to 10, 10 to 20. Anyone over 20 years. And there was a majority of people who were in that 10 to 30 year in promotions and marketing. And then I asked them this question: how many of you have ever had formal sales training where you learn how to qualify a client, how to assess needs, how to handle objections, how to close, how to build, gain referrals, all of these questions? And only about 5% of the room raised their hand. So I told them, you've all been in this career for this long without really knowing what you're doing. Can you imagine how good you'll be once you start to really apply a set of sales skills? So I got to learn that stuff. So part of this rest of my journey story is I wanted to be a famous rock drummer. The only reason I took a job doing anything was to play drums. When I was 25, I had a car accident, and I was told I would never play again. And I'm going to get to a point, so I'm going to appreciate your patience on this. At the age of 33, I went on tour with a comedian. His name was Jim Breuer, this heavy metal comedy tour, and I got to play with rock stars. However, after that tour got canceled because 9/11 happened, I returned home and didn't have a job and literally struggled because it was trying to do a recording studio thing and stay with music. And my car got repossessed, and I nearly went bankrupt. And I always tell people I was the epitome of the joke that I heard back in the day: what do you call a drummer without a girlfriend? Homeless. The answer is homeless. So I literally felt like that because my mom went and bought me a car on her credit card, which was humiliating, humbling, and amazing at the same time because the support that I had was great. The point is, I decided I'm going back into sales. This was 2002. And I went into doing sales for health plans, not insurance. They were plans in case you could not get insurance, and they were called Protective Smart Health Plus from Protective Life Insurance. But here's the interesting thing. When I was talking to my father about the jobs I was looking at, and the one I said, I think this one is great because they give me leads. And if anyone is familiar, you can buy leads on the internet for health plans or health insurance. And he says, what do you mean they give you leads? You have to call that Aunt Gloria and my uncle, meaning you have to start with your friends and family. I said, no, they actually give me leads. And he said, what do they get in the phone book? Because he came from cold calling. And I said, no, this is what happens. Somebody goes on the internet, they're looking for insurance, and they give me that information. And my father gently tapped me on the cheek in a loving way and said, take this job. It'll be the easiest one you ever did. And it was. And it was the catalyst to me becoming a top producer and a manager in office, and then a sales trainer and consultant. So all of that correlates to what I'm going to share with you, because I go back into sales over 30 years. And I have interviewed salespeople, and I have read up on salespeople. And so what I'm going to cover today, I call sales secrets of top producers. And everyone knows they're not really secrets. It's just not things that everyone is either aware of or acting on. So let's roll into this, and I'm going to zip through it. So I grew up in cold calling, knocking on doors, and you'd have to knock on 100 doors to get one person to let you in, and you did not want to lose a sale if it was possible. And today's numbers game is you speak to 10 people and hope someone buys. But here's why cold calling really sucks. Because most people suck at cold calling. And I hate to be blunt about it, but that's the reality. And I'm going to give you a good example. I was called by one of the banks I have a credit card with. Because I am such a valued customer, this young lady representative read 3 minutes straight of a script. And I just sat there and listened because I wanted to ask her one question when she did. And I said, do a lot of people hang up on you? And she exasperatedly said, yes, all the time. I said, well, would you like to know why? And she was like, why? I said, you didn't even engage me. You didn't even interact or ask me any questions to make sure I'm even interested. You didn't qualify that I need this. And I told her, I don't, because it was something to protect you in case you lost your job and couldn't pay your credit card. For a fee, of course. And I already had this as a free bonus on one of my other cards at the time. So I said, you did nothing to actually make me interested in anything. You just sat there and read a script. And what do we do if we don't like a script when we're watching a film or a TV show? We shut it off. And that's what people were doing to her. So most people are cold calling and they don't have a clue as to if their demographic is qualified, and they don't know what to say to engage someone. And I'll give you a great example. When I was selling health insurance and I was cold calling businesses, I had one sentence that I could qualify if they were interested in 5 seconds, and then move forward towards either pitching them over the phone or setting up an appointment, or hang up and move to the next call without wasting time. And I'm going to share that with you. If anyone is interested in doing it, you can. I would literally call someone up and say, hey, I just got a quick question. Is the cost of your health insurance giving you a headache? And people would laugh because it's like, yeah, it is giving me a headache. You know what? I just got a rate increase, or no, I'm fine. Either way, I just position myself to move forward, either with a potential new customer or just to go find a new customer. So it's a very simple way of actually qualifying. Now, that's cold calling, and it doesn't suck because we were literally able to set multiple appointments. In fact, we would call Monday and then set appointments for the rest of the week if it was somewhere out of state and we couldn't go face to face. So cold calling can be very effective, but I always tell people, if I was a valued customer from that bank and they called me and drilled me for 3 minutes without even interacting, I can't imagine the punishment they put through someone who's not a valued customer. So anyway, you get the point on that. The next thing I want to discuss is why warm calling isn't so hot. You may have been hearing about everyone teaching you how to connect on LinkedIn and gain customers through LinkedIn. And it is a very valid resource. Probably one of the best resources now. However, you have to have your process down entirely tight in order for it to work. Because I want to share one little tidbit of information. If you've ever noticed, somebody will, want to connect with you on LinkedIn, and you will maybe read their thing and say, hey, yeah, you know what, this might be a good person for me to have in my pipeline. The reason they're doing it is because they most of the time, want to sell you something. The reason why we're accepting them is because we're thinking, hey, down the road, they could be a potential client or a customer because we want to sell something, right? Unless it's something we really need, and depending on if you're in a position of, maybe you're the tech guy at a company and you go, oh yeah, this is something. But in our position as salespeople, we're really looking at them as a prospect. The only problem is you're immediately going to get an email message or a message via LinkedIn that says, hey, I'm so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. Or an email to your email box. Now, I have had some people reach out to me about insurance leads, meaning because they see that I was in the insurance realm and I haven't really sold in a couple of years because I've been training. But I would respond back because I know agencies that might need leads, and I would get this automated email. And I would respond back and say, hey, I am interested. Maybe I can refer you. And I never hear back from them. This has happened 5 times in the last year. And then I get a follow-up automated email that says, hey, I haven't heard back from you. Literally, they have said they haven't heard back from me. And I'm wondering, well, where did my emails go? Why are you not monitoring your messages? It's literally people just putting something on autopilot and hoping something comes from that. For me, that's not a strategy for success. So warm calling, again, is similar to cold calling. You need to engage your client with something that might interest them, which obviously if it's insurance or you're selling anything, annuities, whatever it is, life, final expense, you have a multitude and unlimited opportunity to market to people, but it has to be done right. So the most successful salespeople who are warm calling do something that I'm going to share with you in a moment, in a few slides later. So here's the pop quiz question. Anyone can sell in a great economy. I always ask people if they think it's true or false. Obviously, we're not an interactive audience. And right now, some people will say the economy is great. Some people won't. Some people are still struggling. So the reason why I put this up there is I don't think anyone can sell in a great economy. And the example I use is right now we are in a climate that open enrollment happens when people had to buy before I think the mandate's going away that they had to have insurance next year, I'm pretty sure, but correct me if I'm wrong. But we had a market who had to buy insurance or they were going to get taxed. And we had a multitude that were getting a subsidy. So it was going to be way more affordable for them. Can anyone on this phone tell me they closed 100% of the people they spoke to? 70%? 50%? Most people are not doing the high numbers they should, because you can't just sell. You can't just be anyone. You have to implement all of these strategies. So I'm just implanting the mentality for you guys. So now let's get into some of the meat. What will set you apart from the competition when there's competition everywhere? And there is. It doesn't matter what you go into. Unless you invented something that does not exist, you are going to have competition, whether it's selling real estate, cars, cell phones, Xerox copy machines, or any line of insurance. So here's one of the things. Now, I love this. I'm big on service. In fact, I feel sales is service. But look at this slide. For those of you that aren't maybe watching via the webinar, it's literally says at a diner or restaurant, we waited 30 minutes, no service, and it's written in ketchup and mustard. Now, I live in New York. That would probably be 5 minutes, and they would walk out. Because if you don't immediately have someone come over and put water on your table, you're like, what's going on? What's wrong with the service? So it can't just be service, because there are levels of service. So you need to give excellent, superb, meticulous, great service that makes people go, wow. And I want to give you an example. We have every one of us on the phone responded to service. And I use the example of a server at a restaurant, because if you are having a meal, excuse me, and you don't like the service, you will tip less. And on the flip side, if you have a server who's great, really, really good personality, constantly attending to your needs, your water is always refilled, they come by and ask how are you doing, most of the time with your mouth full. I don't know how they all do that, unless we're all just always eating it every moment they walk by. And if that person is great, you will tip them better, which means you are paying for service. That's what every individual on earth does. It's an exchange, service for money. Everything works that way. So the more you can ingrain it in your mind is the better service you give, the bigger your client base will be, the more clients you'll have, the more referrals. It all ties together. Second component of that is value. Why should people buy from you? I always ask people that. Why should I buy from you? Meaning, if I'm talking to someone one-on-one training, what sets you apart from the rest? It can only be the service you provide and the value you offer beyond just that insurance policy, because anyone can do that. They can go online and get it without you. All the more reason when someone takes time to talk to you on the phone, they need your help and are interested. And I always love when someone hangs up the phone after 40 minutes and says, oh, they weren't interested. I'm like, really? Then why did they invest 40 minutes of their time in speaking to you? The reality is they weren't interested in buying from you for some reason. And when you go through a systematic training of all of these things we're going to discuss, and you start to implement them, you will start to see why people don't really need to think it over on many occasions. Not everything is rock solid. You can't one call close everyone, but you can more than you probably think or do currently. You can't turn around every quote unquote objection, and you can't sell every single referral either. So, but the more you attempt and put all these components in place, the more you will sell, and I can guarantee that. Okay. It's not about price, but many salespeople make it about price. And this is what I always think. Some agents are called brokers, and I think it's because they're broke themselves, and so they think that their clients are all broke. And they will always offer the lowest priced plan. That is entirely wrong, because my dad taught me, go with the Cadillac. That'll show you his age and the era we grew up in that sales thing. And you could always go down from there. So I always tell people in my presentation, it's literally scripted. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find the best plan for you at the best price. It's going to be the one with the best benefits. And if when we get to the price, monthly premium, if it knocks you off your seat, we can always move things around. But I want to make sure you get the best plan. And that's really what you want, right? And they always say, yeah. Because everyone wants the best. It doesn't mean they can afford it. But it also doesn't mean because you can't get the Mercedes, you have to get a used Hyundai accent. I don't know. You can go somewhere in the middle, but what most salespeople do is start out the lower one, and you're actually doing a disservice to that client because, yes, they want the best, so start at the top, and then you can move things around if it knocks them off their seat. Now, none of this is as important if you ask one question very simply up front in your needs analysis is, how much is your monthly budget, or how much are you looking to spend? And then if they tell you, which they might not because they might be holding their cards and seeing what you have, and, quote unquote, shopping around. But they might tell you, and you could also ask how much you're paying now, or what were you paying for your last policy, and start to figure out where their budget is so you don't have to have that headache later down the road. And you can say, hey, so I can get you something a little better. And I would suggest that you always go a little over their budget because people will buy what they want if they see value in it. And we're back to that value, meaning you can build up the benefits so that it has more value. And then again, it's not about price. I want to give you one more example. High-Tech Automotive is my mechanic. I met him in about 2004 because somebody referred me to him, and I was working out east on Long Island, New York at the time. And he's the best. The first thing he says to me is, I can do this two ways. I could do it the right way, or I could do it the more affordable way. And I was like, well, what is the difference? He said, well, I can get you a used part, and it'll save you some money, or I can get a new part. And I was like, do it the right way, get a new part. But I appreciated that and understand that he's doing that because he deals with people who are used to getting ripped off by mechanics and say, oh, why is it so expensive when this one offered me a price at this, et cetera, et cetera. You probably all get it. So since then, I never let anyone touch my vehicle. And I am now an hour and a half minimum away from him because I've moved, and I still go there just to get an oil change. And at this point, he's a good friend, so I'll hang out, we have lunch, and we make like an afternoon of it. But one time I was visiting my parents who were in Long Island, and I had just had my brakes done with High-Tech Automotive, and I had a problem with the right-hand side. Something was grinding. It sounded terrible and was weird. So he said, don't drive it to me. Is there someplace nearby that you could trust? So I asked my parents and my brother, who both lived there, actually right across the street from one another, and I bring it to their recommended shop. So the guy checks out the car and he tells me, yeah, it's going to be about $1,500. And I'm like, why is it going to be $1,500? He goes, oh, because we have to change everything, rotors, brakes. If anyone doesn't know what that means, basically everything on the inner workings behind your tires make your car able to stop. And I said, but I just had all of that done, and it was only the right side. So why would you try and charge me that? So I said, give me the car. I take the car, drive it to my mom's house, call High-Tech Automotive, Harry, and he says, get it towed here. Literally, the only thing that happened was a hose broke. And it didn't cost me anything because Harry had just done it. But the point I want to illustrate is salespeople, mechanics, attorneys, many of them absolutely suck. And our experiences are terrible. So when you meet or encounter someone who actually does a great job and is honest and stands by their work, you will have absolutely loyal customers that will do anything to maintain their connection and relationship with you. So I just want to stress that. So if you sell someone a policy that maybe is a little cheaper and they have a problem with that, you just lost a customer and every repeat sale that comes with them and every possible referral. So I want to make sure you all start focusing on that value and expertise, which is the next one, and of course, service. So how do you become an expert? I'll give you a couple of ways. Number one, you have to know your products and you have to know your competition. And I'll tell you why, and I will illustrate it by this example of a DVD player. If I walked into Best Buy and I'm looking for any DVD player, whatever it is, and a salesperson or rep comes up to me and I'm asking them questions and they don't seem to know the answers, I'm either going to say out loud or in my head, is there anyone I could speak to? Because I don't trust that person enough to give them my money, because I'm not getting my questions answered, because they don't know. They're not an expert. They may not know more than I. I used to have an issue where I walk into a music store I used to frequent out here, Sam Ash, and I hated it that I always knew more than the guy behind the counter when I was getting into like programming and doing keyboard recording and stuff. I'm a drummer, so I didn't really know keyboard stuff. But this guy would sell me what was in stock. He was like, no, I don't recommend that one. I recommend this one. I'd be like, why? And it turned out that he had a streak of just saying it's in stock because he made commission. Now, will I ever go back there again? No. I stopped going to Sam Ash and started going to Guitar Center, and now I go to a company called Sweetwater because their representatives are experts. So again, you're going to hear repeated patterns a little bit in this segment, but I just want to make sure we're illustrating the importance of somebody coming to you because you are an expert, and that develops trust and builds loyalty. So the second thing is you have to have a set of sales skills. I was just recently speaking to probably one of the largest agencies in the country, and the one thing they're lacking is sales skills. So hopefully I might be doing some consulting for them. But they have everything else down, analytics on lead data, and an abundance of leads, and a whole system of where there's a CRM built into a dialer and everything you can imagine technology-wise. And the one thing they don't actually have is the sales skills. So I'm just going to go through a brief assortment of what sales skills are. So presentation design, meaning the design of your presentation, how you're presenting your product, assessing the needs, building value in the product. And if anyone doesn't have any idea about what it is, go to my WebEx mentor page because I did the presentation design last year. So you can watch that and get the whole thing. Crafting messages and scripts. This is part of being an expert, knowing what you're going to say, especially if you're cold calling or whatever it is, trying to elicit a callback or a return message. They have to be crafted with the right verbiage and psychology so that people will respond and so that you engage, like the line I told you earlier about is the cost of insurance giving you a headache. That immediately engages and qualifies a client, and it doesn't have to be long. I call it the 5-second elevator pitch instead of, the 30-second, because everyone is in, fast food, drive-through mentality, microwave mode these days. They want everything quicker. So qualifying clients, assessing needs, building value, which there are 3 ways to build value in you, in the product, and in the company you represent, meaning, hey, if you haven't heard of Humana, here's why they're awesome. Handling objections is really important, and you can do that in the presentation design itself, meaning head them off before they happen, and also prepare how to handle them within that. Obviously, closing techniques, because I always consistently read this stat that 60% or more of salespeople don't close. They don't ask for the sale. And now that could be part of the reason why they're not closing as much. And I wonder what they do, because I've heard people say, so what do you think? And then what do people say? Oh, I need to think about it. Or can you send me some information? That's not a closing statement. A closing statement is, hey, now all we have to do is submit the policy online together, and then we do what I call hurry up and wait. It's not insurance until they approve you. What's your email address or whatever your first question? I'm going to invite you into this webinar, and I'm sorry I haven't sold, but I remember to that. I haven't sold in a while, but it's still ingrained in me. And I would invite people onto a webinar and then write the sale. If you can do it online, of course. If you're face-to-face, it's even easier. You could just turn the application around, hand them a pen, and shut up and wait and make the next move. But these are all techniques that I have learned over different sales realms over the years. And then, of course, follow up, how you're following up. We're going to get into one of the things later on in the technology portion, which is coming up shortly. How to retain business is really important, which is tied to follow-up as well. And referral strategies. Most people are reactive when it comes to referrals, meaning they'll take one when it comes in, where you should be proactive. I actually did like a short training session called How to Double Your Business in 90 Days. And basically it says if you have 1 customer, 100 customers, 1,000 customers, call every one and ask for 1 or 2 referrals of someone you might be able to help. Because if they stayed on the books for 3 to 6 months already, they like what you gave them, they are happy with you, and they will probably be okay with you helping their friends, family, coworkers do the same thing. As long as you did a great job and you served them properly and you got them the right plan at the right price for them, they won't have any problem giving you referrals. But most people don't ask, coincidentally, just like they don't ask for the sale. It's very interesting mentality, because number one thing in our business is to ask everything, questions, ask for everything, referrals, closing. So it's kind of funny that is literally your job, is to ask. So With that, I can't get into obviously all of the selling skills necessarily on this phone call because it would take several hours, and there are components: one call closing, handling objections, designing the presentation, etc. But I'm going to give you the number one closing statement of all time. Instead of saying, "Hey, so what do you think?" or "Would you like to go ahead with this?" It's very, very, very non-invasive, non-confrontational, psychologically crafted in the best way ever. Now, I didn't create it. I'm just going to share it with you. But it's amazing. So when you're done with your presentation and you say, "Okay, so do you have any questions?" And they say yes or no. If they say yes, you address them. If they say no, this is all you need to say. Why don't you try it? And now people will go, why don't I try it? Okay, well, yeah, you know what? The price is good. I'm losing my coverage at work. Or, you know what? My neighbor had a problem because they didn't have a final expense plan or whatever, life insurance related. You let them answer this in their own mind. And the interesting thing is they will almost never, 99.9% of the time say, well, because I don't want to try it. They won't do that. The way this is crafted is they're not signing away their firstborn. There is not a pressure or commitment long term if you say, yeah, why don't you try it? Why don't you give it a shot? Just test it out. Because all of us on this phone know they have a free look period. So it's kind of letting them know, just try it, see what you think. And when you get it, when they get the policy, you follow up and call them, because you should always be doing that anyway. Say, hey, you got your policy, any questions? And that's, of course, something that goes a long way towards retention and retaining the customer, making sure they're happy. But this, for me, has been the most effective close. And I have had agents email me and say, I can't even believe that this closed more sales than in the last month than I have in the last year. And it's true. It's just, yes, it's a part of an overall presentation design and how you've done your job properly to get to this, so that you should already be positioned to know that this is what they're looking for. And I'll give you an example. I went in shopping for a light gray button-down shirt that matched a pair of shoes that I was actually wearing on that Norvax Go Health marketing tour. And I didn't want to wear a tie, but I still wanted to be a little edgy. So the shoes were like kind of rock-ish, because I'm still a rock guy, I guess. And I walked into one of the Fortune Offs or Macy's men's store, and salesperson's like, how can I help you? And I said, I'm just looking for a gray button-down shirt. I'm usually a medium unless it's a slim fit, then I might be a large, and I want to spend about $100. The person comes out with a shirt. I'm like, yeah, that's totally the color I'm looking for. It was like Calvin Klein. I try it on. It fits. Do you think he said, so what do you think? No. Oh, and it was like $50 or $60. It wasn't even $100. So he doesn't say, what do you think? He said, okay, cool. Let's go ring it up. He literally assumed the sale because he should, because he qualified, or at least I volunteered the information of what I was looking for, and he brought it over. And because he's like, let's go ring it up, I'm like, okay, great. Now, had he said anything else, it may have caused me to pause. If he said, well, what do you think? I would have been like, well, I don't know. Do you have another color, or is there another brand? You can literally psychologically implant an explosion or implosion that allows you to lose the sale. So I just want to give you that as an example as well. So why don't you try it and then shut up, like Mr. T says, and let them answer, let them think about it, because that's another interesting thing. A lot of people have a problem with the I need to think it over, and it's because you're not allowing your client to think, because you constantly keep talking and overselling, and what salespeople say, throwing up on your shoes. And you don't have to. So you can literally let your client think and keep progressing towards the close. Another sales secret of top producers is, as I alluded to earlier, technology. In this day and age, we have access to more people, more contacts, and faster and more efficiently than ever before. I literally started out selling with a pen, a piece of paper, which had a lead information on it, a phone, and a computer. And then we got a CRM and automated email systems and a dialer that I didn't even have to dial the number. It's insane. So people should sell more than ever. And yet some people don't. And again, I'm going to boldly state it's because you don't have the components, all of the components in place to make you a professional. There's a difference between a salesperson and a sales professional. And these are all the traits of sales professionals. So I'm going to get into a little bit of this. So yes, a CRM, it's basically a contact data management system online, meaning you can import leads Keep track of when you called them. Put notes on your clients. And I always recommend doing it after you hang up the phone because you should just sell. Focus on the client. Take notes on a pad on your desk. Old school, I know it is, but you hang up, you then transfer those notes and move to the next sale. For me, that's more efficient because you can focus 100% on what you're doing. I also recommend getting a headset, telephone, or right now I am on a wireless, like Broadway show style or McDonald's drive-through style headset mic. So my hands are free. I can walk around. I can move slides. I can be myself while I'm talking to you. The more comfortable you are, the better, and the client will notice that on the other end of the phone. So the less distracted, the better. So I would recommend using some system to keep track of when you have to call people back and what you spoke to them last and why you're following up and who you didn't talk to, et cetera, or what referrals they give you, but after you hang up the phone. A dialer. So I used to be able to dial the phone without looking at the numbers because we literally made that many phone calls a day. So when a dialer came in, I was like, wow. It was literally dial 4 numbers at the same time, connect you to anyone. You guys all know what that is, I'm sure. So that could be a good tool for you. Now, a lot of these are free. You know, you can get a CRM for free. A dialer you can't, but you can get a CRM for free. And after we're done, it dawned on me earlier when we launched that I didn't put together an email, but I will, that has links to all these things that you can use because I'm a big fan of not wasting money, making money. And when I first got into insurance, I saw a multitude of people recommending you needed a quoting tool, a dialer, a CRM, because they were making an affiliate back-end income off of it. And I literally spoke to someone who was spending $600 a month before he even picked up the phone and talked to one lead. And I thought that was crazy. So my suggestion will be, if you're on somewhat of a shoestring budget or you're just getting into this, you don't have a book of business or a residual, I'm going to send you links to stuff that is going to be free that can actually enhance and improve your selling. Okay. Video and memes or photos are like king right now. We have reverted back to children. We don't want to read content. We want to see a picture on Facebook or social media. We want to watch a video, which I think is phenomenal. Instructional videos or videos that express your expertise, killer. And it's basically free. If you have a smartphone with a camera, you could put it on a stand at your desk, make a video, pop it up to YouTube for free. You're already paying for that camera. You can literally create content for, wait, is blogs next? Yes. I didn't realize that was such a good segue. You can create content for blogs by recording into a recorder on your phone. And I use a company called rev.com, R-E-V.com. And they're a transcription service. For $1 a minute, they will send me back a Word document of my content. And you could do it off of video. So if you record a video, just think of the possibilities here. You record a video, and it's called 3 Ways to Get the Most Out of Your Final Expense Plan. Obviously, that's going to be enticing, engaging title, right? You record this video because you're an expert, and you can share your expertise, attract customers to you, right? But after you get this video done, you post it on YouTube and Vimeo or wherever you can, and maybe snippets of it on, your or the whole thing on your website. The other thing is you can convert it to audio, meaning you could just take the audio from that video and now you can put that up as a podcast or snippets of it and say, here's a teaser, come to my page, watch the video, whatever you want to do. Then you could also send that to rev.com and get that audio turned into a Word document, and now it's a blog or it's a post on LinkedIn or wherever else you could share it. You now have one piece of content that is multi-purposed that can reach an unlimited amount of people. So for me, every person on earth who owns a business should be implementing these strategies. Okay. Digital business cards. They're the coolest thing ever. I'm going to explain why in a minute because there's a slide that will show you which one I use. Email signature, I'm going to show you that as well, just for branding and professionalism. Automated posting, I'm going to show you that also, which is posting to social media, and it's automated, meaning right now we have been on this phone, and I'm pretty sure I have had a motivational quote go up on my Facebook page because I think it goes up at 1:30 Eastern time. I'm not sure, but I'm going to get into that if you don't know that. Amazing, because everyone says they don't have time. Well, we do. If you utilize it correctly, we will, and I'm going to get to that as well in this. And I hope we get to pack all this information in because I know it's 40 minutes in, but thank you everyone for your hanging in there. Newsletters, monthly newsletters. You could also repurpose that content for that as well. All right, so this is what I have as a digital business card. Someone asks for my business card, and I say, do you have a smartphone? And they say, yes. I go, great. Act like you're going to send a text message. And they open up the text message. Okay, what's the phone number? And they think I'm going to give them my phone number, but I'm not directly. I'm going to say, no, you're not going to put in my number. You're going to put in 50500. So 500, 50500. And in the body of the message where you would say hello, you're going to write my last name, piano. And then I tell people, don't let it correct it to piano. All right? And it engages them, and then they hit send. And the best part about this is they instantly get my information. Rob Liano, best-selling author, phone number. Why this blows away a business card is A, it doesn't use paper if you're an environmentalist, but B, I instantly get their contact information. So instead of someone saying, yeah, sure, I'll take your business card, and they blow you off and you never hear from them, you now have their information and can market to them their cell phone, which everyone knows these days is the absolute best way to get in touch with anyone. So this is called context.com. There's no E in text. It's free unless up to a certain amount, meaning if you have more like 100 people or something, I don't know the numbers. But again, this is a free service via text that you can craft your digital business card. You do have to choose a word. And there are probably other, at this point, competitive companies. Just look up text, I don't know, enables, whatever it is, or text business card. I think you could do that. I don't remember how I found it, but you could just put in context in a search and you'll probably see competitors come up. Okay. This is my email signature. It's by what's called Wise Stamp. And yes, I will send this in a follow-up email to anyone who might be interested. But it looks incredibly professional. I had a guy who was a CEO of a Fortune 500 company say, where did you get that? And I was like, well, you could hire me and I'll tell you, as a joke. But then I told him what it was, because it's super pro, because you have links to your social media. It literally has, that's not actually my latest tweet, but it has a tweet from Twitter, and it says everything you needed to know. And it looks great. And now people put the face to the name. And I created my own of this back in the day when I was doing insurance, and I would put a client's testimonial where that tweet would be, because I'm just selling, and someone else is saying how great I am instead of me, which is always good. So it was basically, and I would change that testimonial actually monthly so that people would see a different one, so it didn't look like the same one to the same customers. Okay. This is my listing for posts on social media. So you will see one is at the top right, you'll see there's a picture of me with the F from Facebook, and then one with the another F, but that's my other page. There's also, I branded my book I wrote called Pick Me Up as a motivational quote book, so I do quotes. But there's literally 150 right now in queue that are going out automatically, as you see on these times. So it looks like I was wrong about the time. It's 3:15, 3:05. And you can post to multiple social media accounts, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. And you could choose all different times. So you can take an hour one day and literally set up a month's worth of posts if you have them prepared, so that you can not have to be logged into Facebook, not have to be logged into LinkedIn, other than maybe to check messages, and keep maintaining your brand and building your brand and keeping people abreast of what's going on and offering content and encouragement and insight. So that's why I was saying earlier, stop wasting money, because a lot of this stuff is free. In fact, I'm going to give you one of the biggest ones. This is a quote I created. It's my quote. If you don't keep the client engaged, they'll be thinking about divorce, right? Because you want to engage a client, maintain buying desire. Not the point. The point is I created this for free. Zero money except the time involved to make that. And I think it looks pretty awesome. It doesn't look average. It doesn't look cheesy. It's not one of the websites you go on and it says, well, make your quote, and they look either the same as everyone else's, because I want to kind of stand out my brand. Secondly, I am writing an ebook, Hire Like a Boss. This is the cover. This next shot is the table of contents. This is the chapter and what it looks like. It's going to be a free ebook for people, on how to hire the right people with certain traits that they have. But I'm going to tell you, this didn't cost me any money to do except my time in writing the book and designing it. Now, how did I do this? I'm going to tell you. And I'm going to get to one more. So it's a company called Canva, like canvas, like a painted canvas without the S, canva.com. You can create all of that content for free. And I'm going to tell you how it correlates to one of the most important things you can do as a sales professional to increase your business. So I use the combination of Canva and something else to do this. This is a book that I'm also working on. It's almost done, so I created the landing page, Ignite Your Sales, Ask and it should be given to you. It's over 100 sales questions, qualify, engage, et cetera, et cetera. It's basically a sales question book that you could use in your presentation and different ways of asking questions. Really a way to discover everything you need to know to write the sale. So I didn't even read this over. You might see a mistake in it, and that's okay because it's not done. But this is called content marketing. You must have heard of it. If you haven't, I mean, let me go back to that. Sorry. Everyone is talking about content marketing because what it is you offering content for free. But really, it's not for free. The potential client is paying with their name and email address. So now, instead of cold calling, instead of buying leads and taking shots in the dark, you literally have someone interested in what you have to say, in your expertise, and they come to you. And I call it laying out baits. Let me get to this. Oh, there we go. Content marketing. I call it laying out bait. And where's that one? There we go. Okay. I'm going to go back. Basically, if you've ever seen any, National Geographic or out Wild Discovery Channel show, when a animal, lion, cheetah, hunts another animal like an antelope or whatever, what does the antelope do? They run because they're being chased and attacked. But what happens when people who like the sport of hunting, if you call it a sport, I don't know, and they're laying out bait and then they're sitting in a tree in their camouflage outfit and waiting? What happens? The deer comes to them and they shoot the deer. I'm not a fan of that, but that's all good. Whatever everyone likes to do. But that's what I call content marketing. You're laying out bait and having the clients come to you, and they're qualified, interested clients that you can then follow up with your newsletter, with more content, and eventually, because you have helped these people in some way, they will buy from you. And I'm going to give you a great example. I noticed, being that sales game, when I would go shopping in a store and I would try on, let's say, a pair of pants, and a person helped me, they would often come by and knock on the dressing room door and say, hey, and I would be like, you know what, they're too small. And they say, oh, I'll get you the next size up. And they will come back and give me the next size up. And I wouldn't like them. And they would say, so so how did it go? What do you think? And I would say, I'm really sorry, I just don't like it. And I would say I'm sorry because they provided a service. They went and got that extra pair. So people are inclined to do business with you because you did something for them. So I'm just going back 2 slides here. And this has always worked. Content marketing is not new. It's just recently digitally rebranded. Because what my entire agency did, and myself that I started doing when I was just selling, is I would send out a free RX card. And I actually still have it. And I still get paid monthly residuals. If anyone's interested in it, I can send you the link. But I would literally send in a thank you card, my business cards, and this free prescription card. Now you could just download it off the internet. So it's pretty awesome. And they get discounts on prescriptions. And I get paid off of every prescription they use on a monthly basis. But I would give it to them for free because still people have challenges with prescriptions. And I'll never forget, someone sent me an email saying, this literally saved me $100 on my diabetic medication. Monthly. $1,200 a year for a free card. That is a client for life. So this is a proven effective formula that has always worked. It's just that we aren't always taught it, or we don't always do it. Okay. Basically, leads are the driving force of any business. And you need to get as many leads as you possibly can, because people will fall off the books. If you're in the senior market, unfortunately, our clients can pass away. So you always want to have your lead funnel full. And the best way to do that is a multitude of things. Content marketing, the next point I'm going to get to, which you're also losing money if you're not doing the second component. And any way you can, like word of mouth, referrals, buying leads. Like when I was selling, I would get live call transfers, shared leads, aged leads, and exclusive leads, and call everyone because I needed to reach my sales goals. And I did not want to rely on anyone else except me to do that. So if you have goals, and we're going to get to that, I know we're getting tight on time, so I'm going to try and zip through a couple of things. Social selling, basically it's selling via social media, which is kind of woven into the content marketing, and I can't expunge on that one right now or expand. But here's a great quote. Social media users have exceeded their sales quota at a higher rate than non-social media users every year since 2010, and it's by 10% or more. So if you're not social selling, you're losing sales. Okay. Goals. Goals is a big one. I'm going to go through this one shot. Like the most successful people have goals, and here's a great illustration. People with goals in their head are 10 times more successful than people without goals. And then people with written goals, the far right, are 30 times more successful than people with no goals. So I'll ask, do you have your goals written down? Monetarily, financially, investment-wise, long-term, frivolous goals, travel goals, personal goals, spiritual goals. I actually have a document I created that's 100 goals, and by category, 10 each, 10 categories, 10 goals, and it's really an amazing exercise on stretching your head around the things you want, and they start to more, everyone knows if you've ever thought about getting a car, you now see that car over the road where you didn't really notice it before. It's because you are focused on the goal. That's the key to success, is always keeping in front of you. So if you don't have a monetary goal, set one, and I would suggest you set it higher than you initially do it the first time. Okay. Set goals, set deadlines, take action. I can't get into my whole method called SMARTER goals, so I apologize, but maybe that'll be the next one we do. So here's the other thing. You have to be learning, practicing, and improving, because everything you know up to this point has gotten you where you are, meaning you can only make X amount because you know X amount. And you can't go beyond that unless you learn more and implement more. And I'll give you an example. 9 times out of 10 or 90 times out of 100, the person who graduated high school only earns less than the person who went to college. The person who got their master's will earn more than just that person who got their bachelor's. And the person who got their PhD will generally earn more. So earning is always equated to learning. The problem is knowledge is not power. And I love that people say, what are you talking about? So if I know that I should not speed on a parkway or highway, and I do it anyway, that knowledge is useless. So the real thing is the application of knowledge is power. I have trained people, hundreds of agents in the insurance realm since 2007, and the only time I've seen failure in my strategies is when they're not doing it. I had one gentleman call me up. He's like, hey, man, this doesn't work. I'm like, well, can you explain what's going on? Let me see if I can help you. He said, yeah, get to the end of the whole presentation. I go for the close. We're 40 minutes into the call. And the lady says, oh, I don't need this to start for 6 months. What would you do, Rob? Like argumentatively asking me, blaming me, what would you do, Rob? And I said, I would probably ask the 4th question in the beginning of the presentation that says, so when do you need this to start? And immediately he was apologetic and said, well, I kind of have the presentation next to me on my desk. I'm like, well, you can't put the phone on it and expect it to work. You can't leave it sitting there and expect it to work. So knowledge is not power unless you apply it. And then it's incredibly powerful because it could change your sales life. So I want you to make sure, are you doing the things that either you have learned or that you know are successful every moment of every day? Okay. I'm going to get into this time management, which I'm probably not doing really well on this call, but we're going to go forward. So I just want to illustrate how much time we have in a day, because so many people say, oh, I don't have time for that. But it's really that we don't manage our time well or make the time for the things that should matter. So 8 hours of sleep. I always ask audiences, how many hours sleep 8 hours? Because I generally don't, except on a given day, I will crash and maybe sleep that long. But normally it's not 8 hours. So, but just as an example, 8 hours of sleep in a 24-hour day. Next one, 8 hours of work. I probably tend to do more than that as well on most days. But, if you could do it in 6 hours, where most of us are probably here self-employed, right? Because we are independent contractors, et cetera. 8 hours of work. 4 hours of family time. This includes if you have to drive an hour to and from dropping children off at school or anything, preparing a meal, whatever it is. 4 hours of family time. And then 2 hours of TV or internet. when you look at this, man, doesn't it look like a lot? Like this is a lot of time we have. And that still, after all this, leaves 2 more hours if you want to start building an ark. I mean, that's 24 hours in one day. Same time that Abe Lincoln had, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, any one of the people who have created greatness or a long-lasting legacy. Same amount of time. So now are you, this is important, on a weekend, if you're not working your full-time job on Saturday and Sunday, you have even more time. So it's a matter of prioritizing. And so are you investing your time or spending it or wasting it? You know, Jim Rohn said time is more valuable than money, and he's 100% correct, because you cannot make more time, but you can always make more money or earn more money. So what you're doing with your time as an investment is going to be the most important thing. And some of the things you should be doing is prioritizing your priorities. Like, if anyone wants this, I have a template of a daily schedule created in Excel where it literally says from, I think, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on the half hours, where you could write in your schedule and follow it on a daily basis. Because that one thing made me more successful and effective than anything I've ever done in my life. I tracked my time. I realized I was wasting too much time on Facebook where it was just, nonsense. And I'm not saying you don't have any recreation or shouldn't have any recreation or fun. But when you have an effective workday, it's such a pleasure stopping and being able to now go and enjoy your personal time, because you're not thinking about what you did at work. You're not having the spillover of work in personal and then personal at work. It just makes life so much easier because you're following directions. Like if you worked anywhere at, let's say, Kentucky Fried Chicken, you'd have to go in, punch in the clock, right? Punch out for your break, punch back in, punch out when you leave. And if you don't do that, you're not going to do your job very well, and you're probably not going to have it very long. But we, as independent contractors, and most of us work remotely from home, we don't have anything to follow unless we create it. So if anyone wants that, my email is going to come up shortly in one of the last slides, and I'll send that to you. But so customer first, everything you should be doing in the bulk of your time is getting clients and maintaining clients. Maintaining clients is so much easier than getting them, because you can put that on autopilot with monthly newsletters and, just following up on emails. And most clients don't really bother you that much if you gave them the right plan at the right place. They might have a question that comes up. They might call the insurance carrier, whatever it is. But gaining customers is where you need to input the most amount of your time. With email marketing, when are you going to do that? Sales calls, like what are you scripted? Like I used to call between 11 and 3, or shifted to 9 a.m. to 2, and then I would do follow up, and I would see which policies got issued, so that I would then call clients and email them saying, congratulations, your policy's issued, you'll receive it in 7 to 10 days, and I'm going to call you when you get it, et cetera, et cetera. But you need to schedule all this stuff. All right, so let's get to the cool part. Of course, there's an offer, because we're all salespeople, right? I put together a course. It's going to be in the next couple of weeks to help you crush it, which is a book from Gary Vaynerchuk, and thankfully you can't copyright a title, so I could use it. But it is a content marketing course, meaning what I showed you, that book, Ask and It Shall Be Given to You. I am going to walk you through all of these steps using your lead funnel, because you have to have a way to acquire those leads and email addresses and names and make your offer and fulfill the offer, meaning they click on it, you give a free white paper, free ebook. They literally will give your email, and then they get it instantly. It's literally hands off. It works while you sleep, 24/7. It's a no-brainer. So I'm going to help you choose the right lead funnel, because there are different price levels. The one I use is $150 a month. There's another one that's $199. There's another one that's like $50, they're all great. They're just different factors, and I'll go over all of that. I'm also going to help you define your offer. Is it going to be a white paper? Is it going to be a free video course? I'm going to help you use the content and title, create the title that's going to engage people. I'm also going to help design your page and your content and guide you through how to do this whole thing on Canva, like I showed you my ebooks. And I'm going to tweak your call to action to make sure you have the verbiage correctly that people will want to sign up, and help you design your initial social media launch, meaning if it's a Facebook post or something of that nature. So, and it's a limited time only, and it's I should say limited offer, because I can only do it time constraint wise with 10 agents. So if anyone is interested in that, I'm going to put that up. But it's $199.97 because it's through Insurance WebEx. Otherwise, it's $499.97 because it's pretty involved. And I guarantee you will get a return, because how much is one client worth? How much is one extra sale worth? A day, a week, a month, a quarter, et cetera, and those extra referrals that come with it. So if you don't see the value in $199 for getting it together, and you can go and do it on your own. That's the case with everything. But I have a lot of knowledge that will help you expedite the entire process and make sure all the content is tight. All right, so if you need to contact me, rob@robliano.com. You can go check out my website, which I'm now redoing, so partly you won't be able to notice, but it's under construction. Or if you need to call me, my toll-free number is 1-855-832-7625. So it's rob@robliano.com, www.robliano.com.